God bless you, everyone. I wanted to let you know that I'm a repentant New Yorker. I used to live in New York, and it was very liberal, and God delivered me and moved me into Missouri. So thank you, Jesus. So just wanted to start off with, back in the 1930s, many of you know who Margaret Sanger is. And Margaret Sanger started a program called the Negro Project, and she engaged pastors and doctors of the day and very prominent people of that day in order to convince black people, or Negroes as we were called back then, to reduce our population. In 1939, she wrote a letter to, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but she wrote a letter to Clarence Gamble of Procter & Gamble. And in the letter, she said in part, "We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the one who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members." Well, my name is Zina Hackworth, and I am a more rebellious member. So I've been researching for several years about what's going on in pro-life and pro-death. And back in 2006, about 10 years ago, I was doing some research, and I noticed that we're just killing ourselves in the black community. We are killing ourselves, and we didn't even know it. So I decided that I would call about 3 of my friends, and I said, you know what? And it's called This Race Will Self-Destruct is the name of the organization. And I decided to call 3 or 4 of my friends, and I said, you know what? I want you and your daughters to come over to my house because I want to share some information I found with you. And they said, okay. And I told them it's about abortion in the black community and HIV and AIDS in the black community. So before I knew it, about 40 people wanted to attend. And I thought, my house is not that big. So I told my husband, I said, I don't know what to do. He says, well, just go ahead and have it in 2 weeks. So I had it in 2 different sessions. And it kind of grew from there. And we would get together with mothers and daughters, because it was a pro-life abstinence workshop that I decided to start. So it started off, we had mother and daughter come together because it's not a good idea to teach chastity or sex education, whatever you want to call it. It's not a good idea to teach it anything without mother being there with their daughters. I honestly believe that, because it's really hard a lot of times for moms to talk to their daughters, and it's very hard for dads to talk to their sons. So if we get them all together and get a group of their friends together as well, they open up like you would not believe. So we had our first 2, and it grew from there. We had people saying, oh, Zina, can you come to my house with all of my friends and do this? And can you come to my house? So we kind of go around the country doing this. The last one was this past weekend. It was a little bit smaller, but I will tell you what we do. We cover everything. First of all, men are not allowed. So if a girl does not have a dad in her life, then or have a mother in her life, then dad gets to decide which woman comes with her, because someone has to be willing to, either grandmother or aunt, someone has to be willing to come with her. We also, at these workshops, we also have someone who is post-abortive, someone who is not post-abortive. We also have someone who's HIV positive. And the key that we have found is that you have to be very, very honest with our young people. Because, you know, all the fluff, they don't like a lot of fluff. They want answers to really hard questions. We can't do it on our own. So what we do is we get a group of people to come in. We have somebody who has participated in some of them, and she's back there. Hi, Connie. Wave to everyone. That's Connie Eller. Has anyone ever seen Moffat 21? Connie's in this. So, okay. Yes, this is right, and I just took one of your copies. So, but anyway. Sorry. But anyway, so what we like to do is we like to have mothers and daughters get together. One of the things I tell the girls, one of the stories I tell them is when I was getting married, I'm not a person, I don't like a lot of lace. So when I was getting married, I couldn't find a wedding dress that didn't have lace on it. I'm not, you know, of course, like I said, I'm originally from New York, so I'm not into all the fluff and the little curly girly things. And so I just wanted a simple satin wedding dress, and that's all I was. So I decided I had to make it myself. So I went to buy the fabric for it. And when I got there, I'm looking at the fabric, I found this beautiful satin. And so when they were pulling the satin out, on one part, I guess they were trying to do it really fast, and I thought, wait a minute, that looks like a spot on there. And it was a long, dark spot on there, on the white satin. And I said, well, I can't use this. He said, oh, it should be fine. I said, no, this is my wedding dress. And I was like, well, no, I can't make this. So they had to go through and go get another bolt and everything. So what I tell the girls is this, when the way God sees you, you're like that pure white satin. And that's how you need to see yourself, because you may not be able to see it directly, but when he looks at you, he sees something pure. That's the way he made you. And when you allow a man who is not your husband to touch you in any ungodly way, it becomes stained, just like that stain that was on that fabric that I was looking at when I was about to get married. And I asked them, which one would you want to be? Usually, and I didn't get in until 3 o'clock this morning, so please forgive me. I sound a little tired, but because I wanted to have two pieces of fabric for you. And I like to ask them, which one do you want to be? Do you want to be that pure satin, or do you want to be the stained one? And overwhelmingly, they don't want to have a stain on them. And I said, this is how God sees you. Doesn't matter what everyone else says, because, growing up in New York, everybody was saying, oh, everybody does it. Well, no, I didn't. My friends didn't. So even though I grew up in liberal New York City, in the South Bronx, down the street from Yankee Stadium, everybody, what was that? Oh, was that a good thing? You're a Cardinals fan?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I live in St. Louis, but I'm sorry. But even growing up in such a liberal place, I knew the importance of chastity, because that's the way I was taught. Now, the other thing is too. Oh, we also have people. I don't know if I told you that are from the local crisis pregnancy centers as well. We always have them at our workshops as well, because no matter what, we tell our young people somebody is going to stray, or they're going to know somebody who does. Because a lot of, you do know that a lot of people don't know about crisis pregnancy centers and any of the pregnancy centers. You all know that, right? How many of you know that? Because, even though we know it in our circles, people outside of our circles, even though there are more pregnancy centers, they have no idea that they're there. So we make sure that they know, the young girls know, and we give them enough information from the local pregnancy centers so that when their friends become pregnant, or in order to stop their friends from becoming pregnant or having sex in the first place, we give them information so that they can spread the information to their own friends as well. Because not everyone, as you know, not everyone does it, but a lot of people do. And a lot of our young people. So a lot of our young people, they're going to want real answers. They want you to be straightforward with them. They don't want all the fluff either. Because you can tell them all the pretty things that you'd like to. Because a lot of times people ask me why a lot of abstinence programs don't work or resonate with a lot of young people. And it's because there's a lot of fluff in them. And young people today don't want fluff. They want honesty and they want truth. They want hard truth. And the Bible has that. We have truth. We're the only ones who have truth. So why not share it with our young people? There's nothing wrong with being, be prepared too, because some girls, they're used to graphic things. So you have to be prepared for that as well, because that's all they know. So we have to get to the point where we know our young people, know what type of things are influencing them. It's not just television anymore. We've got cell phones, and we have, all types of media that's out there that's influencing them in the wrong direction. So we need to know what those things are, and we need to know how to approach those and how to talk to them about it. Because they'll come up and they will ask you, once they're comfortable with you, if you make sure that they're comfortable with you, they will be willing to ask you any question, anything. They will ask you anything. Because I've had moms say to me, Zina, I don't think my daughter's going to stay because she doesn't want to come to this. I said, well, that's okay, just come on. So she'd come in like this. Sometimes you have red, green, blue hair, all kind of colors, and earrings and seriously, tattoos here, and you do this. But then you give them food as well. Make sure you have food, and make sure it's good food too. But they come in like this, And they're just like, I know about sex. I don't need to hear what you have to say. But then when they find out how valuable they are in God's eyes, then they start melting. It's like, oh, that makes sense. And when they start realizing that how men think, that men are visual, and if you are, and the men who are here, if you can agree or, with me if you'd like, and, because the thing is, men are very visual, and for the most part, if you are willing to just give up something to a man without him having to pay, like with a ring, without, he's a lot of times he's just gonna go ahead and take advantage, and girls don't know that. They don't understand that. And so we need to let them know how men think. The men in the room, make sure you talk to your daughters and your granddaughters. That is so influential. The most influential person in a child's life, whether he's there or not, is their father. Everybody on television always says, "Hi, Mom, hi, Mom, hi, Mom." But the most influential person in a child's life, either for the good or for the bad, is their fathers. And, because I can say that with my dad, I adored him till the day he died. And my dad adored me till the day he died. And I was his little girl. And I always grew up in New York, liberal New York City, where everybody was running around doing everything. I grew up thinking, you ain't touching me, because that's what my father instilled in me. My father did. So moms need to be able to talk to their daughters. So, how many people have abstinence programs here? Okay. So all the abstinence programs that you have, be sure to try to have moms in there with you, because it opens up that door of communication between mother and daughter. And this way, when they walk away from it and they go home, they can talk to each other. And then for all of you dads out there, please, and grandfathers and even uncles, even with moms sitting there, because sometimes, moms don't want men talking to their daughters, but, talk to these young women. Let them know what men think, because they need to know how valuable they are. And a lot of times we have the situation that we have today is because the men are not there to teach their daughters how valuable they are. That is the most important thing, because I think that I thank God for the men in my life, my grandfathers, my father, my uncles. They all saw me as having value. And so that's why I didn't grow up promiscuous. Now, it's not 100%. Now, I can tell you that. Of course, they're going to have a few that it's not going to be 100% with. But please, whatever you do, make sure that mom and dad are both involved in that child's life. But moms need to be there to talk to their daughters. They need to know that, and even their friends, have their friends come over. And the way we do it, we do ours, we have, when we do our workshops, we don't do just, everybody in the church come around or whatever. We have one child who will get her friends together. And once all of her group of friends are there, they're a lot more comfortable. Because we used to give out index cards for them to write questions on. Even with moms there, because, they're a little embarrassed and they don't want to ask questions. Well, if their friends are there, they feel more empowered and they'll ask anything. And moms are like, and so, and it's like, Mom, just it's okay. It's better she ask it here than to ask it somewhere else. So she's more comfortable when her friends are around, and it's almost like a Tupperware party, a sex education Tupperware party, because you get together with your friends and you start talking about things and you don't realize, oh, I said that in front of my mother, but it doesn't matter because she doesn't seem to be freaking out about it. So I'm just going to ask a few more questions. And that's what they do. They ask questions, So whatever it is that whatever program you're using, because I don't believe that one person has all the answers or one program has all the answers. But just make sure that in that program that you have, make sure that you are completely honest. I like what Georgette said earlier about when she had her abortion, it was not a big deal. Young girls need to hear that. And then they need to hear the repentant side from that same person. As in, because there are going to be people who have abortions who just don't think it's a big deal. And it's like, no, I don't regret anything. They're out there. But then, when you hear this, like, okay, so this person regretted hers, so that young girl is going to know, oh, I can go and talk to her one day. down the line when she finally figures out, oh, what was that lady's name? Miss Georgette Forney. Let me try to contact her because she said she regretted it, and now I'm feeling regret. Because we go through all stages. We want everybody, we have this thing where we want everybody to hate abortion, and then all of a sudden it's like we all regret our abortions and everybody should feel that way. Well, everyone doesn't feel that way. And we need to realize that not everyone thinks the way we do. So we need to find someone who has walked that road so that they know who to contact later on, because it's coming. Because it may not happen now, but it's coming down the line. And so we're going to turn. Now, the other thing I want to tell you real quick, a little bit off subject, and that's not really off subject. In order to end abortion in this country, the black community has to be involved, because we are the ones it was targeting. Because we're the ones who want. Thank you, all the white people who were standing up for all the black children, all you abolitionists. Thank you. Thank you to the Catholics. Thank you to the white folks. Thank you to because a whole lot of us would not be here if it weren't for the people who were standing up when we decided not to. So we need to reach out to pastors, black pastors, but also understanding that black pastors are post-abortive and their wives are post-abortive, and they don't want to talk about it. So we need to, there are two organizations I want to tell you the names of. You probably know the name of them, but you might want to just kind of contact them. One is called Life Education and Resource Network. That is the oldest black pro-life organization in the country. And the next one is called the National Black Pro-Life Coalition. And so they've been around for several years now as well. And they're growing in numbers. But a number of them are pastors as well. Because if we engage the black pastors, and we can get into them and say, listen, because, since it was for us, if black folks stand up and turn around and stop going to abortion clinics, they will shut down tomorrow. Plainly and simply, because the target is no longer there. That's what the target is. So I actually, can I answer a question? Or should I wait? Okay, yeah. So write the questions down. Please have a lot of questions for me, because I don't want to feel like I've been insignificant here. But thank you all so much for just for standing for life. I can remember I'll tell you this one story real quick. I can remember when I was in church, because there's a certain party, the pro-abort party, which I'm not going to say who they are. You all know who they are. They like to court the black community. And I remember being about 16 years old, 15 or 16 years old, and I was in high school. And I was at church one Sunday morning, and I go to church to serve God. I don't go to church to see any politicians. And in walked, and I would tell you, I had a liberal family, and I know it had to be God who told me to do this. In walked, what is that man's name? John F. Kennedy Jr. into our church. And I remember I was sitting in the balcony, and I remember sitting there, I said, Lord, he does not belong here. Why is he at our church? At the time, I didn't know that this was what politicians did. And so everyone was so excited. And when they all stood up, I stood up too, and I walked out and didn't come back until next Sunday, when I knew he wasn't going to be there. And then one other person, who all knows who Faye Waddleton is? Raise your hand if you don't know who Faye Waddleton is. Faye Waddleton was one of the first I think she was the first black president of Planned Parenthood. And she came from a Christian home, and she basically was, I remember when I think I was probably, it was in the 70s, so I was probably like in junior high school or something when she became president. And I remember them talking about her in the news, and the first thing I thought was, gee, God, that's how they're going to get us. They put a black face on murder, and that's how they're going to get us. Why I knew that, I don't know. I knew it had to be God. So just listen to what God says, and we're going to end this thing. How many believe that? We are going to end this thing. And just remember as well that we don't all have one answer. We are the body of Christ. Just like my hand can't go look at me, it's like, oh, how can you be an ear? I want to be an ear. It doesn't work that way. We all have our different functions, and thank God for all of you. God bless you.